Some of history's most brilliant inventions have completely vanished from our world. Ancient civilizations achieved technological wonders that our modern science still cannot fully explain or recreate. This video uncovers 25 of these lost marvels, revealing a past far more advanced than we ever learned. You will discover the secrets behind unbreakable Roman concrete, a 2,000-year-old astronomical computer, and swords forged from a metal we cannot reproduce. How did a society without electricity potentially create long-lasting light? And what was the terrifying fire that burned on water? The answers challenge everything we assume about human progress. What do you believe is our greatest lost piece of knowledge? That corroded lump of bronze, hauled from the Mediterranean depths, held a secret that would stun historians. Known as the Antikythera Mechanism, this 2,000-year-old device is considered the world's first analog computer. Its intricate clockwork of at least 30 interlocking bronze gears, some with teeth cut with microscopic precision, was housed in a wooden case no larger than a shoebox. By turning a hand crank on its side, an ancient user could predict the movements of the sun and moon, the positions of planets, and even the timing of lunar and solar eclipses. It was a portable universe, a mechanical representation of the heavens. One of its most fascinating functions was tracking the 4-year cycle of the ancient Olympic Games, proving this was more than a scientific tool, it was a cultural touchstone. The existence of such a device implies a whole school of mechanical engineering and a lineage of master craftsmen whose other works have turned to dust. How could knowledge this advanced simply vanish from the world for over 1,000 years? Its silent gears point us toward another civilization that mastered a different kind of magic, one forged not in bronze but in stone. While the Greeks were mapping the heavens with bronze gears, the Romans were building an empire meant to last for eternity on the ground. Their secret weapon was not just legions, but a revolutionary building material that has defied time itself. Look at the Pantheon in Rome, its vast dome a perfect hemisphere of concrete that has sheltered generations for nearly 2,000 years. It holds the record as the world's largest unreinforced concrete dome, a silent testament to an engineering miracle we still cannot fully achieve. The true magic, however, lies beneath the waves. Ancient Roman harbors, like the one at Caesarea, have concrete breakwaters that have spent 2 millennia being pounded by salt water. Instead of crumbling into dust like modern concrete would in just decades, these submerged structures have actually grown stronger. The secret was in their recipe, a mix of lime, volcanic ash, and chunks of rock, all combined with seawater. This specific combination triggers a slow chemical reaction over centuries. Rare, plate-like crystals grow within the material, locking it together and actually filling any tiny cracks that begin to form. It is a self-healing stone. Modern scientists have only recently identified these stabilizing crystals, yet reproducing the exact process and consistency on a practical scale remains just out of reach. We can analyze the ingredients, but we have lost the chef's technique. How many other foundational secrets, capable of creating structures that last for millennia, are still buried with the past? This pursuit of enduring strength leads us to another civilization that built for the ages, one whose monuments still pierce the sky. High in the Andes, the fortress of Sacsayhuaman stands as a monumental puzzle. Its walls are built from colossal stones, some weighing over 100 tons, each one a unique, irregular polygon. Yet these giant blocks are fitted together with such breathtaking precision that the seams between them are virtually invisible. You could not slip a single piece of paper between them, let alone a razor blade. This is polygonal masonry, a building technique that used no mortar whatsoever. Instead, the entire structure relies on the perfect, custom-shaped interlocking of every single stone. The Incas did not simply stack blocks, they carved a three-dimensional jigsaw puzzle on a gargantuan scale. This required an almost supernatural understanding of geometry and stress distribution. Each stone had to be shaped to bear the weight of the stones above it, while simultaneously locking its neighbors into place. The method they used to achieve this perfection is one of archaeology's greatest enigmas. Some researchers speculate they used a plant-based solvent to temporarily soften the hard granite, allowing them to mold it like clay. Others argue for a far more laborious process of trial and error, where a stone was repeatedly placed, marked, and painstakingly abraded until the fit was flawless. This was not just construction, it was an act of supreme patience and skill. The result is a structure that has withstood centuries of violent earthquakes that would reduce modern buildings to rubble. The walls of Sacsayhuaman do not just stand, they dance with the earth, the interlocking stones shifting and settling without collapsing. Modern engineers look upon this work with a sense of awe, knowing that with all our advanced technology and power tools, we could not easily replicate this ancient, earthquake-proof design. How did a civilization without the wheel or iron tools achieve such a masterful command of stone? This pursuit of perfection through material science leads us to a metal that seems to defy the very laws of physics. While the Incas were locking stone together without mortar, a different kind of perfection was being forged in the fiery hearths of the Viking Age. A warrior gripping an Ulfberht sword held a weapon that felt supernatural in his hands. While his contemporaries fought with blades that were brittle, prone to bending or shattering in the heat of battle, the Ulfberht was a masterpiece of flex and resilience. Its secret was a steel of impossible purity, a type known as crucible steel. The carbon content within this metal was so high and so evenly distributed that it rivaled the quality of steels that would not be mass-produced in Europe until the Industrial Revolution, nearly 800 years later. This was not just a good sword, it was medieval super-steel. To create such a material, raw iron had to be heated to an extraordinarily high temperature, melting it completely in a sealed crucible. This intense process burned away the impurities, the slag, and other weaknesses that plagued other swords of the era. The result was a blade that was simultaneously harder, to hold a devastatingly sharp edge, and more flexible, to absorb the shock of a brutal parry without breaking. The origin of this miraculous material is one of history's great whodunits. Did Viking traders transport this precious steel all the way from mines in Central Asia, carrying ingots along vast river routes? Or did a small, brilliant group of Norse smiths somehow develop and then lose an advanced, localized smelting process, a technology that would vanish as suddenly as it appeared? Modern blacksmiths, even with precise temperature-controlled electric furnaces, find it incredibly difficult to recreate the Ulfberht's unique properties. The swords stand as metallic ghosts, each one stamped with the name Ulfberht, a signature of a forgotten industrial art. What other metallurgical secrets, capable of turning raw earth into near-mythical weapons, were buried with the Viking Age? Our exploration of lost technologies continues with a substance so strange it seemed to create fire from water. That same quest for an unbreakable weapon took a terrifying turn from solid steel to liquid flame. Aboard a Byzantine warship, a dromon, a crewman would aim a bronze tube towards an enemy vessel. With a roar and a hiss, a stream of fire would arc across the water. This was not ordinary fire. It clung to everything it touched: wooden hulls, sails, and the men themselves. Most horrifying of all, it burned even on the surface of the sea. Water could not quench it. In fact, it seemed to make the flames rage even brighter. This was Greek fire, the ancient world's most feared naval weapon. For over 7 centuries, it was the ultimate trump card of the Byzantine Empire, a chemical secret so devastating that it single-handedly repelled sieges and shattered entire fleets. Its exact recipe was a state secret of the highest order, known only to the emperor and a single family of chemists. The formula was so protected that when the empire finally fell, the knowledge vanished with its last guardians. We have clues from ancient descriptions. It was almost certainly a petroleum-based concoction, a volatile mix of crude oil and other mysterious ingredients, perhaps pine resin or quicklime, that gave it its adhesive, water-resistant properties. Think of it as a form of ancient napalm, a sticky gel that was nearly impossible to remove. The delivery system was just as advanced. It was not simply thrown in pots. It was pressurized and projected through a complex siphon, a terrifying flamethrower on the high seas. Modern chemists have tried for years to recreate Greek fire based on these scant descriptions. They can make things that burn, and even things that burn on water, but they have never been able to replicate the specific, horrifying combination of adhesion, intensity, and water resistance that the historical accounts describe. The loss of this technology was a direct contributor to the decline of Byzantine naval power. Its secret remains one of history's most successful and enduring classified projects, a stark reminder that some forms of knowledge are as volatile as the fire they create. This same principle of secrecy and loss applies to a different kind of ancient marvel, one that offered not destruction, but the promise of everlasting light. That same quest for a perfect blade did not end with the Vikings. Centuries later, in the workshops of the Middle East, another legendary metal was born, one whose beauty was matched only by its lethal performance. The surface of a true Damascus steel blade is a rippling landscape of light and shadow, a watery pattern etched in metal that seems to flow like silk. This was not merely decoration, it was the visible signature of a microscopic miracle. These swords were fabled to be so sharp they could split a falling hair in two, yet so resilient they could cleave through an enemy's helmet without chipping or shattering. Their secret began not in Syria, but in the crucibles of India with ingots of a special high-carbon steel known as woots. This raw material, forged from iron ore rich with rare trace impurities like vanadium, was the essential canvas. The true magic, however, happened in the hands of the smith. Through a painstaking, closely guarded process of repeated heating, hammering, and very specific cooling cycles, the internal structure of the steel was transformed. Modern analysis using electron microscopes has revealed the astonishing truth. Within the best examples of these ancient blades, we find carbon nanotubes and microscopic wires of an iron carbide called cementite. These are structures operating on a nanoscale, a form of ancient nanotechnology that gave the steel its incredible combination of hardness and flexibility. The beautiful wavy pattern is actually a map of this complex internal architecture. For all our advanced science, we have hit a wall. We can analyze a finished blade and see what is inside, but we cannot reverse engineer the exact traditional process from the raw wood steel to the final, perfected weapon. We know the ingredients, but the recipe, the specific thermal cycles and forging techniques that coaxed these nanostructures into existence, died with the master smiths of the 18th century. It represents a profound gap in our knowledge, a lost art of material science that manipulated matter at a level we thought was beyond ancient comprehension. How many other methods of transforming base materials into near-magical substances have been erased from human memory? This drive to manipulate the physical world leads us from the forges of warriors to the workshops of artisans, and a glass that defied the very nature of fragility. That same mastery of material seen in Damascus steel finds a parallel in a far more cryptic object, unearthed from the ashes of a Minoan palace on the island of Crete. The Phaistos Disc is a baked clay circle, small enough to fit in your hands. Its face is not marked by handwriting, but by a spiral of 45 distinct symbols, each one stamped into the clay while it was still soft. A man, a walking figure, a shield, a beehive, a ship's paddle, all pressed in a deliberate, swirling sequence. This is not just writing, it is the world's first known use of movable type printing, a technology that would not appear again for over 3,000 years. Someone in the Bronze Age carved these 45 symbols as individual seals, then arranged them in order to stamp a message onto this disc of clay. And that message is a ghost. The 241 tokens have been scrutinized by the world's best linguists and cryptographers for more than a century. Is it a prayer to a forgotten goddess, a record of a king's taxes, the epic tale of a hero lost to time? We have no key, no Rosetta Stone to crack this code. The very civilization that created it, the Minoans, left behind no other documents like it. The technology itself is a profound anomaly. Why develop such an efficient, repeatable printing method and then apparently abandon it completely? The disc is a solitary, perfect innovation with no past and no future, a single frozen moment of genius. It forces us to question everything we think we know about the spread of ideas. Perhaps progress is not a steady climb, but a series of flickering lights, many of which go out, leaving only a mysterious glow behind. That sense of a lost frequency, of a signal we can no longer hear, leads us directly to another marvel, one not of symbols but of sound. Deep beneath the island of Malta lies a world carved from solid limestone, a labyrinth known as the Hypogeum of Hal-Saflieni. This is not a natural cave system, but a colossal, three-level temple complex painstakingly hollowed out by a Neolithic people over 5,000 years ago. Its shadowy chambers and winding corridors are an architectural marvel in their own right, but the true mystery is not just what you see, it is what you hear. Within this silent, subterranean world, one chamber in particular holds a secret that resonates to this day. It is called the Oracle Room. When a deep male voice speaks or chants within this small, egg-shaped cavity, the sound does not simply echo. It transforms. The chamber amplifies the sound, making it reverberate through the entire complex, but it does so at one specific, powerful frequency. This resonance is measured at 110 Hz, a vibration that modern studies have shown has a profound effect on the human brain. This specific frequency has been linked to shifts in brainwave patterns, potentially quieting the logical centers of the mind and activating areas associated with emotion, creativity, and even trance-like states. The builders of the Hypogeum did not just carve a room, they engineered a psychoacoustic instrument. How could a Stone Age society, without any of our sensitive devices, possibly understand how to shape solid rock to produce such a precise and powerful sonic effect? The answer seems to lie in an almost supernatural sensitivity to their material. They must have tapped the stone, listened to its ring, and carved with an intuitive understanding of how sound waves would behave, creating a sacred space where architecture could directly alter human consciousness. This was not merely a place of gathering, it was a machine for the mind, a technology of transcendence built with nothing more than stone tools and an incredible depth of knowledge. What other sensory experiences capable of bending perception did these ancient cultures design? This journey into the manipulation of human experience now turns from the power of sound to the mastery of light. Deep within the dark confines of the Hathor temple at Dendera, Stone walls tell a story that looks startlingly out of place. Carved into the sandstone are massive, bulb-like objects, each one containing a snake that stretches outwards, its head touching the end of a sealed tube. This strange assembly is held aloft by a pillar, and a cable seems to run from its base to a box guarded by a priest. To many who see it, the interpretation is immediate and electrifying. This looks for all the world like an ancient light bulb. The theory proposes that what we are seeing is not a myth, but a diagram of a lost technology, a form of electrical illumination that allowed the Egyptians to light their deepest, most inaccessible tombs without filling them with smoke from torches or oil lamps. Proponents of this idea point to a very practical mystery: the complete absence of soot stains in some subterranean chambers, like the tombs in the Valley of the Kings, where elaborate paintings cover the walls and ceilings. How could such detailed artwork have been executed in total darkness, and why is there no residue from countless hours of flame-based light? The mainstream explanation from Egyptology offers a different, symbolic reading. They argue these images represent the creation myth of a snake emerging from a lotus flower, a powerful symbol of fertility and life force. The pillar is the cosmic pillar, and the box is the sacred shrine. It is a spiritual story, not an electrical schematic. This is the core of the Dendera enigma, a clash between two entirely different ways of seeing the past. If the light bulb theory is correct, it implies a catastrophic loss, a branch of technological knowledge that was sheared away so completely that not a single battery, generator, or wire has ever been found. The reliefs stand as a silent, provocative question etched in stone, forcing us to wonder if our linear story of progress is fundamentally flawed. What other forms of energy, now completely forgotten, might ancient hands have once mastered? The story of the Roman glassmaker is a chilling lesson in how easily knowledge can be extinguished. According to the ancient historians Petronius and Pliny the Elder, a humble craftsman arrived at the court of Emperor Tiberius with an unbelievable creation, a drinking bowl made not of brittle glass but of a flexible, malleable material. To prove his claim, he handed the vessel to the emperor, who promptly threw it onto the stone floor. Instead of exploding into 1,000 shards, the bowl merely dented. The man then produced a small hammer and calmly tapped the dent back into its original shape. It was a miracle of material science, a form of unbreakable glass. The emperor's reaction, however, was not wonder but cold, calculated fear. Tiberius immediately asked if the inventor had shared his secret with anyone else. Upon hearing that he had not, the emperor ordered the man beheaded. The reasoning was brutally pragmatic. Such a substance would render the imperial reserves of gold and silver utterly worthless, destabilizing the entire economy of the empire. One man's genius was sacrificed to protect a system of wealth. While this tale might be legend, it points to a profound truth. Modern science tells us that flexible glass is not a fantasy. We have since created transparent aluminum oxides and durable polymer glasses that behave in much the same way. The ancient Romans possessed the technical skill with glassmaking to potentially discover a similar formula through experimentation with heating and cooling cycles or mineral additives. The loss, whether of a real invention or simply the spark of an idea, symbolizes a different kind of extinction, one not caused by the passage of time, but by deliberate human intervention. It forces us to ask what other world-changing innovations were suppressed and lost forever because they threatened the powerful. This question sinks with us now into the silent, crushing depths of the ocean, where another ancient puzzle lies scattered across the seafloor. High on the desolate slopes of Mount Baigong in China, a mystery is literally baked into the stone. Here, a weathered, pyramid-like structure stands guard over a landscape that should not exist. 3 perfectly triangular openings pierce the mountain face, leading into dark, inaccessible shafts. But the true enigma lies scattered all around, rust-colored iron pipes of every conceivable diameter, from as thin as a toothpick to wider than a tree trunk, embedded directly into the solid rock. Some of these metallic veins run straight into the mountain, while others snake their way down to a nearby saltwater lake, plunging beneath its surface. The entire scene looks less like an archaeological site and more like the skeletal remains of some colossal, ancient machine. Scientific analysis has dated these pipes as astonishingly old, yet their very presence defies any simple explanation. The location is profoundly remote, a barren and uninhabited region that has never hosted any form of modern industry. If these were modern conduits, who built them here and for what impossible purpose? The pipes are not simply lying on the ground, they are fused with the geology, suggesting they were placed when the rock itself was still forming, pointing to an age of millions of years. This has, of course, sparked theories of prehistoric, advanced civilizations or even visitors from beyond our world. Geologists counter with a more mundane, though still fascinating, possibility that they are the result of a rare natural process known as iron bacteria concretions, where microbial action can form tubular iron structures over eons. Yet this theory struggles to explain the pipes' uniformity, their deliberate seeming arrangements, and the sheer variety of their sizes, all clustered around those precise, artificial-looking openings in the mountain. The Baigong pipes stand as a classic out-of-place artifact, an object that challenges our entire understanding of the human timeline. If they are natural, they are a geological oddity of unparalleled strangeness. If they are artificial, then they represent a technology and a civilization so old that its very memory has been erased by time itself. This confrontation with a past that does not fit our models echoes another profound mystery, one found deep within the Central American rainforest. Scattered across the high desert plains of Peru, the Nazca lines transform the earth itself into a colossal canvas. From the ground, these enormous drawings are nothing more than shallow trenches and indistinct pathways. But from the sky, the true masterpiece is revealed. A hummingbird with wings outstretched spans the length of 4 football fields. A spider, a monkey, and a whale are all rendered with clean, continuous lines that march for miles across the arid landscape. The technology used was deceptively simple. The Nazca people did not build these shapes, they uncovered them. By carefully removing a layer of dark, oxidized pebbles from the desert surface, they exposed the lighter, sandy-colored soil beneath. This created a stark, high-contrast image that has been preserved for nearly 2,000 years by one of the driest climates on Earth. The real mystery, however, is not the materials but the method of design. How did a people who lived over a millennium before the invention of flight create such perfectly proportioned and precise figures on a scale that can only be comprehended from hundreds of feet in the air? Without the ability to see their work from above, the Nazca artists and engineers needed a way to transfer a small-scale sketch onto a landscape of immense proportions. They likely used a system of ropes and stakes, plotting out key points and using basic geometry to connect them over vast, uneven terrain. Yet the flawless execution of curves and the consistent line width across miles of desert speaks to a level of surveying skill that we struggle to explain. The purpose of these giant drawings is another layer of the enigma. Were they a massive astronomical calendar, their shapes aligned with celestial bodies? Or were they sacred pathways meant to be walked by priests during rituals, their full form visible only to the gods in the sky? The lines are a form of communication, but we have lost the language. They represent a profound understanding of space and mathematics, a blueprint executed on a scale that dwarfs our modern conception of land art. This ancient mastery of large-scale environmental design finds a parallel in a structure so vast it challenges the very definition of what humans can build. The precision of the Great Pyramid is almost beyond human comprehension. Built from an estimated 2.3 million blocks of limestone and granite, each one averaging 2.5 tons, the structure's sheer mass is staggering. To complete it within a pharaoh's lifetime required moving a new block into place every 2 to 3 minutes, day and night, for over 20 years. This was not just brute force, it was a symphony of logistics, a level of project management that would challenge even our modern capabilities. The fundamental question is not just how they cut the stones, but how they lifted them. We know they used ramps, but the design of those ramps remains a hotly debated mystery. A single, straight ramp tall enough to reach the top would have required more material than the pyramid itself, an absurdly inefficient undertaking. The theory of a zigzagging ramp scaling one face reduces the volume of material needed, but the sharp turns for such heavy blocks present their own set of nearly impossible problems. Perhaps the most intriguing idea is an internal spiraling ramp, a corkscrew tunnel built within the growing structure itself, allowing workers to drag blocks upward from within. Yet, no definitive archaeological evidence for any of these systems has ever been found inside the pyramid. The loss of this knowledge is profound. It is not just the loss of a simple tool, but the loss of an entire system of engineering, a master plan for coordinating thousands of workers to achieve a single, perfect goal. The pyramid's enduring presence is a silent monument to a forgotten science of organization and execution, a management technology erased by the sands of time. This ancient command over colossal stone leads us to a different kind of rock, one shaped not into monuments but into mirrors. Deep within the jungles of Costa Rica, a different kind of precision lies half buried in the earth. The Diquis Delta is home to over 300 stone spheres, some as small as a tennis ball, others massive, weighing over 16 tons and standing taller than a person. They are carved from a single, brutal type of rock called gabbro, and their geometric perfection is disorienting. Against all odds of nature, these objects are almost perfectly round. The society that created them, a pre-Columbian culture that flourished over 1,000 years ago, possessed no metal tools, no laser levels, and no written language to record their methods. Yet they managed to shape these immense stones into forms of stunning symmetry, with surfaces smoothed to a uniform finish. How did they achieve such spherical accuracy with nothing but stone hammers and abrasive sand? The process was likely a masterclass in patience and controlled destruction. Artisans probably identified a suitable boulder and then used fire to heat specific points, causing controlled fractures. They would then have painstakingly pecked away at the rough form with harder stones, slowly working it down, before finally polishing it for generations with sand and water to achieve that impossible smoothness. This was not random carving, it was a systematic reduction of stone toward an ideal form held in the mind's eye. The purpose of these spheres is an equal mystery. Were they arranged in patterns mirroring constellations, acting as a giant celestial calendar? Were they status symbols for powerful chieftains, their size and number reflecting their owner's influence? Or were they sacred boundary markers defining territories understood by all? Their original placements were scrambled long ago by colonial settlers who rolled them with logs or pushed them into ravines, erasing the context that might have provided the answer. Today, they sit as silent, round sentinels, a testament to a culture that could envision geometric perfection and had the will to wrest it from unyielding stone. This ancient grasp of form and alignment points our gaze upward to a civilization that did not just map the earth, but charted the cosmos with uncanny accuracy. Ancient Sanskrit epics contain blueprints for machines that defy their time. Within texts like the Mahabharata and the later Vaimanika Shastra, we find not just passing mentions of flight, but intricate technical descriptions of Vimanas. These were not simple chariots with wings. They are described as multi-decked palaces and complex vehicles made of specific metals, powered by engines that used mercury and other mysterious substances. They were said to traverse the sky, journey into space, and even plunge into the depths of the ocean. The descriptions are so precise that they have sparked a centuries-long debate. Are these merely poetic allegories for spiritual ascension, or could they be garbled accounts of a technological reality that was later lost? The Vaimanika Shastra delves into details that sound eerily familiar to a modern engineer. It speaks of mercury vortex engines, a concept that loosely parallels our own ion propulsion systems, which use charged particles for thrust. It describes these craft as being built from alloys that absorbed light and heat, suggesting an understanding of materials science that seems impossible for the era. Mainstream historians and scientists largely dismiss these passages as imaginative fiction, pointing out that the texts were compiled long after the events they describe and contain clear mythological elements. Yet the persistence of these ideas is haunting. Why would ancient authors repeatedly devote so much effort to describing the mechanics of flight, the construction of hulls, and the principles of propulsion if there was no foundational spark of real knowledge? If these accounts do hold a kernel of truth, then the loss of that knowledge represents a chasm in our history far wider than we ever conceived. It suggests a branch of science that grew, flowered, and was then completely sheared away from the tree of human progress, leaving behind only cryptic verses in a sacred text. From the soaring possibilities of mythical skies, we are pulled back to a different kind of mystery, one rooted in the enduring stone of another continent. These lower walls of Sacsayhuaman are a geological jigsaw puzzle solved with impossible perfection. Enormous blocks of limestone, some heavier than a fully loaded semi-truck, are locked together in a sprawling, zigzag pattern. The sheer scale of the stonework is humbling, but the true marvel is in the microscopic detail of the seams. The joints between these colossal stones are so flawlessly tight that they are seismically welded, creating a monolithic structure that behaves as one single, immense unit. It is as if the stone itself was made pliable, softened by some unknown method, and pressed into its neighboring block to harden in a perfect, custom-shaped embrace. The process of creating this begins miles away at the quarries. Without the wheel, without iron chisels, and without powerful draft animals, the Inca engineers faced a problem that would stump modern builders. Their solution was a symphony of simple physics and profound patience. They likely used harder, denser stones as pounding tools, systematically pecking away at the limestone along predetermined fracture lines. To transport these 100-ton giants, they may have leveraged a combination of earthen ramps, log rollers, and an army of laborers pulling on ropes, inching each block forward through a masterful application of friction and leverage. This was not haphazard dragging, it was a calculated, slow-motion ballet of mass and momentum. The final fitting was the ultimate test of their art. Each stone was likely lowered into a prepared bed of sand, then painstakingly shaped in place. Workers would have repeatedly tested the fit, marking high spots and grinding them down with sand and water until the contact was absolute. This was an engineering philosophy that rejected haste, one that valued eternal resilience over quick completion. The result is a wall that does not fight earthquakes. It absorbs them, the interlocking stones shifting and settling as a living, breathing structure. We have lost the specific school of thought that could conceive of such a project. a holistic understanding of material properties and structural harmony that viewed stone not as an obstacle but as a partner. This intimate, almost alchemical relationship with raw material finds a stunning parallel in a different ancient craft, one that transformed a simple metal into a legendary, shimmering blade. A book exists that holds every secret but gives none of them away. The Voynich Manuscript is a 240-page puzzle bound in vellum, a text from the early 15th century that has resisted every attempt to read it. Its pages are filled with a flowing, unknown script, a language of curling characters that forms no words we recognize. Alongside this unreadable text are illustrations that drift further from our reality with every page turn. There are detailed drawings of plants that have never grown on this earth, with leaves and root systems that defy botanical classification. Astronomical charts show unfamiliar constellations and celestial arrangements that do not match our night sky. Perhaps most strangely, there are intricate biological diagrams depicting tiny, naked women bathing in or perhaps connected to a system of fluid-filled tubes and vessels, a surreal anatomy that feels both scientific and dreamlike. The physical book itself is undeniably ancient, its vellum carbon dated to the 1400s. The ink and pigments are of the period. The object is real, but its meaning is a complete void. For over a century, the world's best military cryptographers, linguists, and mathematicians have attacked its code. They have employed complex statistical analysis and powerful supercomputers, searching for patterns that would reveal its underlying language. Yet not a single word, not one definitive sentence, has ever been deciphered. The very system of knowledge used to create it, the purpose behind its meticulous assembly, is a technology of communication that has been entirely erased. Is it an elaborate, centuries-old hoax designed to baffle, an alchemical code protecting profound secrets, or a literal record of a lost worldview, a science that has since vanished without a trace? The manuscript is a black hole in the history of ideas, swallowing all light of understanding. It stands as a chilling monument to the fact that knowledge is not automatically preserved, that entire systems of thought can disappear, leaving behind only a beautiful, unopenable box. In stark contrast to this unreadable mystery, our next discovery is a voice from the past that speaks with perfect, heartbreaking clarity. A small, unassuming terracotta jar, no taller than your hand, might hold the key to rewriting the history of energy. Found in the ruins of a Parthian village just outside modern Baghdad, this simple pot contained a stunning secret. Inside, a rolled copper sheet formed a cylinder housing a single iron rod. The two metals were kept separate by an asphalt plug, creating a perfectly insulated assembly. To an archaeologist in the 1930s, it looked bizarrely out of place, an artifact that seemed to defy its own time. The accepted explanation is that these were storage jars for sacred papyrus scrolls, the iron and copper acting as protective casings. But a simple experiment reveals a far more electrifying possibility. If you were to fill such a jar with an acidic liquid, something as common as vinegar or grape juice, the pot suddenly becomes a basic chemical battery. The acidic fluid acts as an electrolyte, allowing a chemical reaction between the copper and the iron that generates a small but consistent electrical charge, enough to produce about 1 volt of electricity. A single jar is a curiosity, but what if you linked several together in a series? You could theoretically create a usable voltage. The question, of course, is what would an ancient civilization do with such a subtle, invisible power? The most compelling theory is electroplating, the process of using electricity to deposit a thin layer of one metal, like gold, onto the surface of another, like silver. Artifacts from the same period show objects plated with gold so fine and even that modern experts have struggled to explain how it was done without some form of electrochemical process. Another possibility lies in the realm of medicine. Ancient texts speak of using electric fish to numb the pain of operations, a form of early electrotherapy. Could these jars have been a more controlled, portable way to deliver that same tingling, analgesic sensation? The terrifying truth is that we may never know for certain. No wires have been found, no evidence of what they might have powered. The knowledge of how to use this potential power source, if that is indeed what it was, vanished completely for nearly 2 millennia, only to be accidentally rediscovered in the 20th century. This forces us to confront a haunting idea that the path of science is not a straight line leading to us, but a forest of forgotten trails. How many other fundamental forces did ancient hands once harness, only for that understanding to be extinguished? This search for lost energy now pulls us to a site where the stones themselves seem to generate a mysterious and palpable force. On a remote island in the vast Pacific, giants stand in silent vigil. The Moai of Easter Island are monolithic human figures, some towering over 30 feet tall and weighing as much as 82 tons. These colossal heads and torsos were not discovered where they were made. The Rapa Nui people carved them from the volcanic rock of a single quarry, Rono Raraku, and then somehow transported them across miles of rugged, hilly terrain to stone platforms called ahu along the coast. The journey for some statues was an incredible 11 miles. With no wheels, no draft animals, and no metal tools, this task seems almost supernatural. How do you make an 80-ton stone giant walk? The island's own oral traditions provide a tantalizing clue, suggesting the statues were not dragged but walked upright. In recent experiments, researchers have tested this theory with smaller concrete replicas. Teams using 3 sturdy ropes can indeed make a multi-ton statue rock from side to side, edging it forward with each controlled, swaying step. One rope pulls from behind to tilt the statue forward, while 2 teams on either side guide the rocking motion, preventing a catastrophic fall. It is a breathtakingly simple yet terrifyingly dangerous method, a dance of immense mass and delicate balance that requires absolute coordination and a deep, intuitive understanding of physics. Yet this walking theory only solves one part of the puzzle. How did they manage the steep descents from the quarry or navigate sharp inclines? What kind of ropes, woven from what island plants, were strong enough to withstand such immense and constant strain? The full suite of tools, the precise logistics for moving the very largest moai, and the complete training of the teams are a lost body of practical engineering knowledge. This monumental effort was the heart of their society, a testament to human ingenuity and communal will. Tragically, this incredible skill was expended as the island's fragile ecosystem collapsed, likely from deforestation and resource depletion. The very last moai were abandoned, forever frozen in the quarry or along the ancient roads, their journey incomplete. The story of these giants is thus a double mystery, a haunting tale of how a civilization could achieve the impossible, only to have the knowledge of that achievement vanish under the weight of its own cost. This legacy of lost urban brilliance guides us next to the heart of a legendary city. Off the coast of Japan's westernmost island, the ocean floor holds a secret that challenges our very timeline of civilization. Below the waves near Yonaguni lies a colossal, monolithic structure, a sprawling complex of massive stone terraces that descend into the deep blue. Its sheer faces rise like the steps of a sunken pyramid, with sharp, clean edges and stark, 90-degree angles that seem to slice through the water. You can follow what look like staircases ascending these submerged cliffs and discover wide, flat platforms that resemble plazas or ceremonial grounds. One formation, often called the turtle, looks like a massive altar, while another feature appears to be a giant human face carved into the solid bedrock. The entire site feels like the ghost of a city, a place built for giants and then abandoned to the sea. The debate over its origin is a battle between two different ways of seeing the world. Geologists point to the sandstone itself, explaining how powerful tidal currents, consistent seismic activity, and natural weathering can fracture rock along its bedding planes, creating surprisingly regular shapes. They argue that nature, given enough time, is a master sculptor capable of producing what we perceive as architecture. Yet, how does natural erosion account for two perfectly circular holes, each 2 feet deep, positioned precisely where pillars might have stood? How do we explain the two massive monolithic blocks, each weighing thousands of tons, that rest atop the main terrace in a way that seems deliberately placed? If this is all a magnificent geological accident, it is one of the most convincing illusions on Earth. If it is not, then the implications are staggering. For this structure to be man-made, it would have to have been carved when this land was above water during the last ice age over 10,000 years ago. That predates the oldest known monumental structures on Earth by thousands of years. It suggests a prehistoric society with the advanced technology, organization, and will to quarry and shape an entire mountainside, a civilization that thrived and then vanished beneath the rising seas as the glaciers melted. The methods they would have used to work on such a scale, underwater or on a coastline, are a complete mystery, lost to the very ocean that now guards their creation. Yonaguni does not offer easy answers, only a profound and haunting ambiguity. It stands as a permanent question mark on the seafloor, a place where the line between a natural wonder and a human masterpiece is irrevocably blurred. A spark plug should not be 500,000 years old, yet that was the astonishing claim that emerged in the 1960s, when a group of rock hounds in California's Costa Mountains cracked open what they thought was a simple geode. Inside the hardened lump of clay and iron oxides, they did not find the expected crystalline cavity. Instead, they found a ceramic cylinder surrounding a 2 mm metal shaft, all encased in a hexagonal metallic shell. It looked for all the world like a 20th century automotive spark plug. The object was immediately labeled an out-of-place artifact, an UPart, a term for an object that seems to defy the established historical timeline. If this was genuinely a spark plug inside a solid geode that took millennia to form, it implied the presence of a technologically advanced society in an era when primitive hominids were just beginning to walk the earth. The mystery ignited the public imagination, fueling speculation about ancient astronauts, forgotten civilizations, or time travelers. It was a story that perfectly captured our desire for a past that is stranger and more advanced than we ever believed. The truth, however, proved to be a powerful lesson in scientific humility. When geologists and engineers finally had a chance to properly examine the so-called artifact, the mystery unraveled. The encasing material was not a true, ancient geode formed over 500,000 years. It was a concretion, a hardened lump of rust and clay that can form surprisingly quickly around a modern metal object, especially in wet, mineral-rich soil. The spark plug itself was identified as a champion brand model from the 1920s, a perfect match for the kind used in Ford Model T engines. The entire phenomenon was a classic case of mistaken identity, where natural processes created a convincing illusion of immense age. The real technology lost here was not a prehistoric ignition system, but the context of its discovery. The Costa artifact did not reveal a lost civilization. It revealed how easily our desire for mystery can override critical analysis. it stands as a vital reminder that not every anomaly rewrites history, and that the most important tool in any investigation is a healthy, questioning mind. This careful separation of fact from fascinating fiction prepares us to examine a genuine mechanical marvel, one whose ancient purpose is confirmed, yet whose sophistication remains utterly baffling. Centuries before steam power would reshape the world, a brilliant mind in Alexandria had already unlocked its basic principle. Hero of Alexandria's Eolipile was a device of elegant simplicity, a hollow metal sphere mounted to pivot on two hollow tubes that connected it to a sealed cauldron of boiling water below. As the water boiled, steam rushed up through the tubes and into the sphere, escaping at high speed from two L-shaped nozzles positioned on opposite sides. The force of the escaping steam jets set the sphere spinning, a whirling metal globe that represented the very first conversion of thermal energy into rotary mechanical motion. This was not merely a concept, it was a functioning steam turbine, a prototype for an industrial revolution that would not arrive for another 1700 years. Yet the ancient world saw it as little more than a fascinating curiosity, a temple wonder to amaze philosophers and priests. It was never harnessed to grind grain, to pump water, or to power a ship. The economic and social conditions that would have made such applications valuable simply did not exist in a civilization built on abundant slave labor. Why invest in complex, costly machines when human muscle was so readily available? The Eolipile thus stands as a haunting what if in the history of technology, a clear path that was visible but never taken. Its potential languished not from a lack of intelligence, but from a lack of perceived need, a stark reminder that innovation requires not just a brilliant spark, but the right kind of fuel to catch fire. This failure to capitalize on a revolutionary idea finds a strange parallel in an ancient device that seemed to track the cosmos with impossible precision. Buried in the Earth for 3,600 years, the Nebra sky disk offers a glimpse into the mind of a Bronze Age astronomer. Discovered by looters in Germany, this fragile circle of bronze is no larger than a dinner plate, yet it maps the entire cosmos. Upon its patinated surface, gold symbols gleam, a celestial code punched into metal. A cluster of 7 stars is widely seen as the Pleiades, a constellation critical for ancient agricultural timing. A crescent moon and a full moon, or perhaps the sun, hang in this metallic sky. Arcing along the edges are 2 golden bands, interpreted as the horizon, marking the sun's journey between the solstice points. Most mysteriously, a golden ship seems to sail along the bottom, a vessel carrying the sun through the underworld at night. This was not mere decoration, it was a functional calculator. By aligning the disk with the actual sky, its users could predict the arrival of seasons, synchronizing the lunar month with the solar year. This knowledge was power, allowing a society to know precisely when to plant and when to harvest, a matter of survival. The technology to create it was itself a marvel, requiring master smiths to smelt the bronze, then artisans to meticulously hammer the gold appliques into their precise positions. The disk represents a unified cosmic vision, a portable observatory that blended practical timekeeping with deep spiritual belief. We can decipher some of its symbols, but the specific myths, the rituals, and the full depth of the astronomical school that produced it are silenced by time. It is a stark reminder that the drive to find our place in the universe is one of humanity's oldest and most enduring technologies. That same drive now compels us to look beyond our own world, to a map not of stars, but of a city that should not exist. While the Yonaguni structure challenges us from the seafloor, another engineering marvel of staggering scale lies hidden beneath the Chinese countryside. In the Zhejiang province, the Longyu Caves represent one of the largest underground excavations ever undertaken by an ancient civilization. This is not a single cavern but a network of 24 colossal spaces, each one hand-carved from solid sandstone. The total floor area covers an astounding 30,000 square meters, a subterranean empire large enough to contain several football fields. Stepping inside is an overwhelming experience. You are not entering a rough, natural grotto, but a vast man-made hall with soaring ceilings that are held aloft by enormous, uniformly carved pillars left in place by the original diggers. The walls are not rough, they are covered from floor to ceiling with a mesmerizing pattern of parallel chisel marks, each line cut at a precise, consistent 60-degree angle. This is not just functional excavation, it is underground architecture executed with systematic, almost artistic discipline. The sheer volume of rock removed to create this complex is beyond calculation, a logistical undertaking that would be ambitious even with modern machinery. Yet for this massive project, estimated to be around 2,000 years old, there is a profound and total silence. No scroll, no imperial edict, no local folklore even mentions the planning or the decades of labor required to hollow out this mountain from within. Who commanded such an effort and for what possible purpose? They were not used as tombs, for no burial artifacts have been found. They show no signs of long-term habitation or of being used for military storage. The engineering knowledge on display is what truly baffles the experts. How did the planners know how to distribute the support pillars to prevent the immense weight of the ceiling from causing a catastrophic collapse? The consistent angle of the chisel marks suggests a standardized technique, a taught method used by countless workers to shape the stone efficiently. But what tools did they use that were both effective enough to work on this scale and yet have vanished without a trace from the archaeological record? The Longyu Caves are a monument to a forgotten imperative, a project so vast that its very reason has been completely erased from human memory. They stand as a silent testament to the fact that some of our greatest historical mysteries are not lost in distant lands, but hidden in plain sight, or in this case, lying in immense, echoing silence just beneath our feet. The ocean is a relentless enemy of human construction, yet one ancient material has not only endured its assault but grown stronger from it. While we previously explored the general marvel of Roman concrete, its true triumph lies beneath the waves. At harbors like Caesarea Maritima, concrete breakwaters have defied the sea for 2,000 years, performing a dual miracle that modern science cannot replicate. Seawater is a brutal environment, chemically attacking the binders in modern concrete and inviting a biological invasion from the Teredo navales, the dreaded shipworm. These clam-like mollusks are nature's underwater termites, capable of riddling wooden piers and even modern concrete with destructive burrows, yet the Roman maritime mix is impervious. Its specific combination of volcanic ash, lime, and chunks of rock, mixed directly with seawater, triggers a slow, long-term chemical reaction. This process forms a rare, plate-like mineral called aluminous tobamorite, which interlocks within the concrete, creating a structure that actually densifies over centuries, filling its own microcracks. More astonishingly, the chemical byproducts of this reaction, primarily a high lime environment, create a substance that is actively toxic to the shipworms. The very water that weakens our best efforts nourishes and protects theirs. Today, international teams of geologists and engineers are drilling core samples from these ancient structures, using advanced spectrometers and electron microscopes to decode the exact mineralogical sequence. They can identify the ingredients, but the lost knowledge is in the proportions, the mixing technique, and the specific curing conditions the Romans understood instinctively. This was not a single invention but a deeply nuanced application of material science, a solution to a problem that still plagues our coastal cities and infrastructure. The silent, submerged blocks at Caesarea are a final, humbling testament to an engineering philosophy that built not for decades, but for millennia. These scattered marvels of the ancient world form a mosaic of human genius, but when we step back, a far more profound and unsettling pattern emerges. Our history is not a smooth, upward climb of progress, but a landscape of jagged peaks and deep valleys. Time and again, civilizations reached breathtaking technological heights, only to see that knowledge vanish into the fog of centuries. The reasons for these losses are often more human than catastrophic. An emperor, fearing economic collapse, orders the only man who knows the secret of flexible glass to be executed. A master swordsmith dies without an apprentice, taking the precise forging rhythm for Damascus steel to his grave. A closed guild of alchemists protects the formula for Greek fire so fiercely that it dies with the last guardian. Sometimes the technology itself simply outlived its purpose. Hero's brilliant steam engine was a fascinating toy in a society built on slave labor. There was no economic incentive to power an industrial revolution. The knowledge wasn't lost because it was impossible, but because it was, at that moment, pointless. This recurring cycle shatters the comforting myth of linear advancement. It reveals that our collective understanding is a fragile flame, easily extinguished by secrecy, suppression, or a simple shift in priorities. The silent stones of Sacsayhuamon and the uncracked code of the Voynich manuscript are not just puzzles, they are warnings. They teach us that preserving knowledge is an active, deliberate struggle. In our own digital age, where data can be deleted with a click and formats become obsolete in a decade, their legacy resonates with urgent clarity. The true lesson of these lost technologies is not just about admiring what was achieved, but about safeguarding the fragile ecosystems of innovation and open inquiry that allow such wonders to be born and to endure. Our journey through these 25 lost marvels uncovers a history far more intricate and compelling than any simple timeline suggests. These artifacts are more than just museum pieces. They are direct challenges to our modern worldview. They confront our neat chronology of innovation, shake our assumptions about ancient capabilities, and shatter our confidence that knowledge once gained is permanently secured. Each one, from the intricate gears of the Antikythera Mechanism to the self-healing chemistry of Roman concrete, stands as a testament to a simple, profound truth. Human genius is not the exclusive property of the present day. The path of discovery is not a straight, upward line, but a winding road with countless forgotten branches and abandoned trails. Today, we probe these mysteries with electron microscopes and supercomputers, hoping to recover even a fraction of this lost wisdom. Perhaps the deepest lesson they offer is one of humility and responsibility. Let these enduring enigmas inspire in us not only a sense of wonder, but a renewed respect for the boundless ingenuity of our ancestors and a fierce commitment to preserving the fragile flame of knowledge we hold today. Which of these lost technologies captures your imagination above all others? Let us know your thoughts in the comments and subscribe for more explorations into the forgotten corners of our past.